Have you ever noticed that you already know all the strategies for success? You've read dozens of books, listened to hours of motivational advice, maybe even memorized affirmations. And yet, your bank account hasn't changed. Your lifestyle is still the same. Why? Because you've been looking for answers in complicated places, chasing trends, hacks, and formulas, when the greatest truth about wealth was right in front of you all along. A truth hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with the courage to actually believe it. There's a book that billionaires have studied for centuries, a book that shaped the mindset of the most prosperous men in history, a book that holds the deepest secrets of financial abundance, not written in business terms, but in divine principles. That book is the Bible. Yes, you heard that right. Not a money manual, not a financial bestseller, the Bible. And today, you're going to see what only a few ever realize. The principles of the Bible are the invisible foundation behind every lasting fortune ever built. While the world teaches you that faith and finances don't mix, the most powerful people on earth know the opposite. They've learned that the Bible does not condemn wealth. It reveals exactly how to create it. Napoleon Hill once said, "All impulses of thought have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent." The Bible said it first. Every millionaire I studied, whether they knew it or not, followed biblical laws in their path to success. It didn't matter if they believed in God or not. The laws still worked, because truth doesn't depend on belief. It just is. Think of wealth like an ocean. Most people stand at the shore, afraid to even get wet. They think abundance is for someone else, that they must settle for drops, while others sail freely. But the Bible says the opposite. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Matthew 7:27. That ocean was created for you, not to admire from a distance, but to enter, navigate, and master. Let me show you how one man did it. John D. Rockefeller, the world's first billionaire, read the Bible daily. He built his business philosophy on its teachings: radical generosity, unwavering discipline, and unshakable faith in his vision, even when everyone else doubted him. He lived by a simple truth: he who is faithful in little will be faithful in much. Luke 16:10. And that faithfulness took him from nothing to the greatest fortune of his time. The moment your life changes forever is the moment you stop treating the Bible like a religious ornament and start seeing it as what it really is: a code for creating a life of abundance. Every parable is a business strategy. Every principle is a prosperity law. When you finally understand that "ask and you shall receive" isn't just a mystical phrase, it's a literal instruction to reprogram your mind, everything begins to shift. You start thinking, speaking, and behaving like someone who was created to prosper. Today is not another motivational message you'll forget tomorrow. Today is the moment your financial life takes a new direction. Because the Bible doesn't just teach you how to get rich, it teaches you how to become the kind of person who attracts, multiplies, and honors wealth. And now, that person is you. Since you were a child, you've been fed the same lines. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people got there by taking from the poor. There's only so much to go around. And if someone has more, it means you'll have less. These aren't just phrases. They're invisible chains. They form the foundation of a scarcity mindset, a mental prison that silently robs you of every opportunity for growth, wealth, and impact. It's the belief that abundance is limited, that prosperity is a zero-sum game, that success for one must mean loss for another. This belief system is so deeply rooted in society that most people don't even realize they're living by it. But let me be clear, as long as your mind is programmed for scarcity, your life will reflect scarcity. You won't see doors. You'll see walls. You won't seek solutions. You'll dwell on problems. I once knew a young man who lost everything in the 1929 crash. Within months, he'd convinced himself the world was over. There are no more opportunities, he told me. People like me don't get second chances. Within 2 years, he was completely broke. Not because of the crash, but because of his mindset. He couldn't see possibilities because he wasn't looking for them. His brain filtered out every path to recovery. But here's what few understand. Abundance isn't a gift, it's a perspective. It's not about how much you have, it's about how you think. Napoleon Hill put it simply, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And the Bible declared long before him, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. That means your outer world will always mirror your inner beliefs. If you think like a beggar, you'll live like one, even if opportunity knocks daily. But if you train your mind to expect abundance, to believe in expansion, to trust that there's more than enough for everyone, the world begins to respond. Suddenly, solutions appear. Resources arrive. People want to help. Doors open. Not because reality changed, but because you did. Picture two people staring up at the night sky. One sees nothing but darkness. The other sees endless galaxies. The difference isn't the sky. It's the lens through which they look. You have that choice too, to either see limitation and stay stuck, or to change the lens and realize you're surrounded by divine abundance. So how do you escape the scarcity trap? Start by questioning every thought that says, I can't. Replace it with, how can I? When you hear yourself say, there's no money, ask, how can I create value? When your brain whispers, this is impossible, respond, this is a challenge I can overcome. These shifts may seem small, but they're seismic. You're rewiring your reality at the source. The Bible teaches this clearly. To him who has, more will be given. Matthew 13:12. It's not unfair. It's spiritual physics. Those who see abundance are entrusted with more. Today, make the decision to stop being a prisoner of limiting beliefs and become the architect of a new reality. Because abundance isn't a destination you reach. It's a decision you make. 3,000 years ago, a man wrote a sentence that changed everything. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. Not what he does, not what he owns, but what he thinks. That's where it all begins. Long before science confirmed the power of the mind, the Bible revealed the law that governs every success and every failure. Your dominant thoughts become your life. And yet, most people still believe their thoughts are harmless, just noise in their heads. But your thoughts are not neutral. They are seeds. And every day, you plant them into the soil of your reality. You may not see the harvest immediately, but it's coming. You're already living today in the harvest of what you planted last week, last month, last year. Napoleon Hill said it like this, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that. He wasn't being poetic. He was describing a law as precise as gravity. Your mind is a broadcasting tower, constantly sending out frequencies. And those frequencies are shaping your environment, drawing in the people, the ideas, the results that match what you believe most deeply. If you constantly think about debt, lack, and fear, you're tuning your life to those realities. But when you begin to think in alignment with abundance, faith, and creativity, the world around you shifts. I once knew a man who lost everything in a financial crash. Every morning, he woke up repeating the same words. I'm ruined. There's no way out. I'll never recover. He didn't realize he was speaking a prophecy over his life. His words weren't just complaints. They were commands. And the universe obeyed. But everything changed when he understood one truth. If his thoughts created scarcity, they could also create prosperity. He started each day with a new declaration. I am prosperous. I attract solutions. My mind is open to opportunity. And within 6 months, his life transformed. Not through luck, but through alignment. Listen carefully. Your mind is your most valuable asset, and your thoughts are the architects of your future. Stop waiting for better circumstances. Start building better beliefs. The Apostle Paul wrote, Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. That's not just spiritual advice. It's a strategy, a roadmap for rebuilding your entire life from the inside out. Here's how you begin. Every morning, take 10 minutes to program your mind. Visualize your ideal life in vivid detail. The peace, the freedom, the flow of finances. Speak it out loud. Feel it. Believe it. Replace every thought of lack with a thought of creation. Instead of, "I can't afford this," say, "How can I afford this?" Instead of, "I'll never succeed," say, "I'm learning exactly what I need to succeed." This isn't fantasy. It's discipline. The same way you train your body, you train your thoughts. Because here's the truth. No one told you. You will never outperform the story you believe about yourself. So write a better story. Speak life. Think abundance. Expect greatness. And then watch as your life rises to match the frequency of your faith. You work hard, you get paid, and then the money disappears. Rent, bills, food, a few splurges, and suddenly you're back at zero, waiting for the next paycheck. Sound familiar? It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're stuck in a financial loop, a treadmill that keeps you moving, but never forward. And here's the truth no one teaches in school. You don't get rich by earning more. You get rich by managing what you already earn. There's a method I discovered after studying the wealth habits of some of the most successful people in history. They had different businesses, different incomes, different goals. But one thing in common, they never spent everything they made. They had systems. Systems they followed with near-religious discipline. From those patterns, I created something I call the 1-3-6 method, a simple, powerful formula that will break the cycle of financial survival and unlock long-term prosperity. Here's how it works. Take every dollar you earn and divide it into 3 parts. 1/3 for personal development, books, courses, mentorships, anything that expands your ability to earn and create. 1/3 for your present life. Essentials, lifestyle, enjoyment, what you need to live well now without excess. 1/3 for your future, investments, savings, assets, the seeds of your financial freedom. It doesn't matter if you make $300 or $30,000. Start where you are. If you earn $900, put $300 into each category. The habit is more important than the amount. Because what you practice in small numbers, you'll continue when the zeros grow. I knew a young accountant who made just $50 a month in 1935. While his friends spent it all, he followed this method with extreme consistency. He invested $16 in books, lived on $16, and saved $18. 10 years later, he owned one of the largest accounting firms in his city. Napoleon Hill wrote, "The ladder of success is never crowded at the top." Why? Because few are willing to climb it one disciplined step at a time. Most people spend first, then save whatever's left, which is usually nothing. You need to flip that completely. Before you pay a bill or buy a coffee, separate your thirds. Make this your financial commandment. Give to your future before you give to your lifestyle. The Bible says, "The wise store up choice food and oil, but fools gulp theirs down." Proverbs 21:20. It's not a judgment. It's a map, a guide for how to live wisely, not reactively. When you allocate 1/3 to learning, you expand your capacity to produce wealth. When you invest in your present with intention, you stay grounded and grateful. When you build your future intentionally, you buy freedom, the kind that compounds over decades. Start today. Start small. Start now. Not because you feel ready, but because your future self is depending on you. Most people live in waiting mode, waiting to feel inspired, waiting to be in the mood, waiting for the perfect timing, the right energy, the sign to act. But the truth, that moment rarely comes. And when it does, it doesn't last. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning. If you're waiting to feel like doing the work, you're already losing. Every wealthy person I've ever studied had one thing in common. They didn't rely on feelings. They relied on systems. They didn't wait for inspiration to build. They built, and inspiration came as a result. Think of an old steam train. Massive, powerful, but painfully slow to start. The first few feet are hard. Every movement feels like a battle. But once it gains momentum, nothing can stop it. That's what financial discipline is. It's hard at the beginning, but it becomes unstoppable with consistency. I once asked Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in American history, what his secret was. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "I've woken up at 5 a.m. every day for 40 years. Not because I felt like it, but because I decided to become that kind of man." That answer changed how I understood success. Discipline isn't about what you feel. Discipline is about who you've chosen to become. The Bible doesn't say that the motivated prosper. It says, "The hand of the diligent makes rich." Proverbs 10:4. Diligence isn't a mood. It's repeated effort, regardless of how you feel. Every act of discipline is a vote for the future version of you. When you wake up early, you're voting for the person who masters time. When you save instead of spend, you're voting for the person who builds wealth. When you study instead of scroll, you're voting for the person who grows. None of these actions are sexy, but they're sacred because they shape your destiny. So define your non-negotiables today. Here are 3 that have changed lives. 1. Study wealth for 30 minutes every morning, no matter how tired you are. 2. Track every expense daily, no matter how small. 3. Save a fixed percentage of every dollar you earn before you spend a cent. Practice these with relentless consistency. You won't feel fireworks every time, but one day, you'll look back and realize you've become unrecognizable. Not because you tried harder, but because you kept going when others stopped. Wealth isn't built on your best days. It's built on your average days. The days when you're tired, when no one is watching, when it would be easy to quit. That's where your fortune is being written. When you don't have much, the natural instinct is to hold on tighter, to clutch every dollar, to believe that giving means losing, to think, once I have more, then I'll give. But here's the irony that keeps most people poor. The moment you stop giving, you stop receiving. You see, generosity is not just a moral virtue. It's a law, a spiritual law, an economic law, a universal law. And when you violate that law, your finances stagnate. Imagine a lake with water constantly flowing in and none flowing out. What happens? It becomes murky, stagnant, toxic. But a lake that receives and gives stays fresh, clean, and full. Your money is the same. If it only flows to you, but never through you, you're blocking the flow of abundance. You're signaling scarcity. You're saying, "I don't trust, there will be more." And the universe always echoes what you believe. The Bible says, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." Luke 6:38. That's not just poetic. That's structural truth. I knew a man in the 1930s, a struggling insurance salesman. He barely earned enough to live, but every Friday, without fail, he gave 10% of his commission to families in need. People thought he was crazy, but 5 years later, he was the top earner in his company. Why? Because his generosity built a reputation. That reputation built relationships, and those relationships built his fortune. Napoleon Hill taught, "The habit of giving freely without expecting something in return develops self-confidence and removes fear of poverty." In other words, generosity rewires your mind for wealth. But be careful. Don't give to manipulate. Don't give just to receive. Give because you've decided to live in the energy of abundance. Even if you only have a little, give from that little. Give your time. Give your wisdom. Give your resources. Not because it's convenient, but because it's powerful. Set a fixed percentage of your income, 1%, 5%, 10%, and dedicate it to generosity, to causes that matter, to people who can't repay you. It's not about the amount, it's about the mindset behind the act. Because when you give, you're not losing money. You're investing in the most reliable law of multiplication that exists. The world has more than enough, but it only flows to those who prove they're willing to let it flow through them. Be that person. Start today, and watch how quickly the universe returns the signal. You're doing the work. You're learning, planning, growing. But something's holding you back, and it's not always obvious. Sometimes, it's the voices around you, the people you listen to, the energy you absorb, the conversations that seem harmless, but slowly sabotage your mindset. Your environment is either programming you for greatness or draining your belief drop by drop. Here's the hard truth. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their thoughts become your thoughts. Their habits become your habits. Their limitations become your ceiling. If they constantly complain about money, if they joke about never getting ahead, if they see rich people as greedy and dreams as naive, then guess what? You're breathing in that atmosphere every single day, and you can't expect to build a palace when you're surrounded by tents. The Bible says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm." Proverbs 13:20. That's not just a proverb, it's a principle. Wisdom is contagious. So is mediocrity. I studied the world's wealthiest entrepreneurs. Do you know what they all had in common? They created inner circles of people who thought bigger than they did. They met regularly. They challenged each other. They exchanged ideas and resources. They didn't try to grow alone. They linked minds and accelerated their success. That's what I call a mastermind, a gathering of focused individuals, all committed to growth. Henry Ford had one. So did Thomas Edison. So did every person who changed history. You cannot rise if your environment pulls you down. You cannot think abundantly if your circle worships limitation. So here's what you need to do today. Identify the 5 people who influence you most. Ask yourself, do they inspire me? Do they push me to grow? Or do they keep me comfortable and small? If the answer isn't empowering, it's time to upgrade your circle. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone. It means intentionally surrounding yourself with people who speak the language of vision, people who invest in themselves, people who celebrate your growth, not mock it. Join groups, attend seminars, pay for access if you have to. Because being in proximity to rising minds is the highest yielding investment you can make. Napoleon Hill wrote, "No mind is complete by itself. It needs contact with other minds to grow and expand." You're not just choosing friends, you're choosing your future. Choose wisely. You say you want to be rich, but how much time do you invest in what actually creates wealth? Most people spend hours watching shows, scrolling social media, chatting about gossip, and then wonder why nothing changes. Here's the truth. Wealth is not built by what you earn. It's built by what you learn. You can lose money, you can lose a job, you can lose everything, but the knowledge inside you, that can't be taken. It's the one asset that compounds faster than any stock, any property, any currency. Proverbs 8:10 says, "Choose my instruction instead of silver, knowledge rather than choice gold." That's not just poetic, it's practical. Because knowledge creates gold, not the other way around. Think of it this way. Your mind is a mine, and the deeper you dig, the more value you uncover. If all you have is a wooden shovel, shallow ideas, scattered attention, you'll scratch the surface and find nothing. But if you sharpen your tool through study, through books, through mentorship, you'll strike gold. In 1943, I met a young man on Wall Street. He was just an office boy. But while others smoked and wasted their breaks, he read market reports. He asked questions. He studied. In 5 years, he became one of the most respected traders on the floor. Why? Because he turned information into insight, and insight into income. Napoleon Hill said it perfectly. An educated man is not the one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. He is the one who has so developed the faculties of his mind that he may acquire anything he wants, or its equivalent, without violating the rights of others. Knowledge isn't just what you read, it's what you apply, it's what you test, it's what you convert into results. So here's how you take control. Set a target. 1 book per month on wealth, business, or mindset. Replace entertainment with education. Just 1 hour a day. Turn your commute into a classroom. Podcasts, audiobooks, interviews. Spend less time consuming and more time mastering. But remember, knowledge without action is just mental entertainment. If you learn about investments, apply it, even if it's just $50. If you study sales, test a strategy today. If you discover a new money habit, start it this week, because nothing you know matters if it never touches your life. You want wealth? Then become someone whose mind is a magnet for opportunity, because it's filled with substance. Feed it daily, train it relentlessly, protect it fiercely. Your mind is the mine, and wisdom is your weapon. You try, you fail, you try again, you fail again, and eventually, you stop trying. That's where most people give up. They see failure as final. They take rejection as a reason to retreat. But here's the secret every wealthy person knows. Success is not about how many times you win, it's about how many times you get back up. Resilience isn't just emotional strength, it's financial strategy. Every empire was built on failures. Every fortune was forged through setbacks. Henry Ford failed 5 times before he succeeded. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Thomas Edison said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." They didn't see failure as an end, they saw it as information. Each obstacle wasn't a wall, it was a staircase, a chance to rise, to adjust, to strengthen. The Bible says, "Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." Proverbs 24:16. That's not just resilience, that's a roadmap to wealth. You see, most people don't lose because they're not smart. They lose because they stop moving. They stop trying. They stop believing. But wealth moves toward those who keep walking, even when the road gets steep. I interviewed dozens of millionaires. Every single one of them had a season of complete collapse. Business failures, debt, betrayal, but they didn't stay down. They learned, they adapted, and more importantly, they persisted. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop asking, "How do I avoid failure?" Start asking, "How do I grow through failure?" When something doesn't work, don't shut down. Deconstruct it, analyze it, find the lesson. Then apply that wisdom immediately. The real danger isn't failure, it's stagnation. It's letting fear of failing paralyze you before you even begin. Set goals that are measured in years, not days. Commit to the long game. Napoleon Hill said, "Most people have achieved their greatest success just 1 step beyond their greatest failure." What if the next step you were about to quit on was the one that would change everything? Here's your permission to fall, to feel disappointed, to doubt. But don't stay there. Keep building, keep showing up, keep rising, because those who rise again are the ones who eventually rise above. By now, you've heard it all. The truths, the laws, the habits, the mindset shifts. Everything you need to build a prosperous life has been placed in your hands. So here's the question. Will you do something with it? Because most won't. They'll nod. They'll feel inspired. They'll even take notes. And then tomorrow, they'll go back to the exact same life. Why? Because action is uncomfortable. Growth requires responsibility. And most people prefer the comfort of complaining to the risk of rising. But you're not most people. You made it here for a reason. You're still listening because something inside of you is stirring, a deep knowing that you were made for more. You're not here by accident. You were called to wake up, to rise, to rebuild. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartbreak carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But that seed only grows if you plant it, and planting requires action." The Bible says in James 1:22, "Be doers of the word, and not hearers only." Knowing the principles is not enough. Doing them is what transforms you. So here's where the path splits. You can walk away with more information, or you can walk forward with a new identity. Not as someone who talks about wealth, not as someone who waits for permission, but as someone who builds, who acts, who creates. And it starts with one decision. Pick one principle from everything you've heard. Just one. Maybe it's saving a percentage of your income. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's reading one book a month. Maybe it's giving when it feels uncomfortable. Maybe it's finding a mentor, joining a new circle, or writing your financial vision. Pick one. Commit to it. Apply it for the next 30 days, because the bridge between your current life and the one you desire is not made of dreams. It's made of decisions. The world doesn't need more people who know about prosperity. It needs more people who live it, people who show what's possible, who light the path for others, who become living proof that faith, discipline, vision, and action still work. So if your heart is beating a little faster right now, listen. If your spirit feels stirred, pay attention. If this message pierced something deep inside you, act. You don't need to know everything. You just need to take the first step, now. Because your new life doesn't start someday. It starts today, with you.